Howdy guys. Last month I wasn't able to be with you, but my colleague Anthony was here, so I'm sure he had a good time with you guys, but I should be back now the rest of the months. So basically, just like we did the first time we were here, the idea is to take a look at what you guys covered in your last month in your Google Certification Level 1 content. And then each month I try to pull out a couple of things that I think might be really neat things for us to dig into, so I've got some stuff prepped for us to go through. But if you bring questions, I'm more than happy to go that direction instead. If you've brought a bunch of questions today, we don't have to cover my stuff, we can go with yours. Like during the first session, there were some forms questions that had nothing to do with what you guys did last month, but it was important to them, and so that's what we took a look at, as well as some of the stuff. So let me start though by a couple of quick housekeeping things. So when you get a chance, if you head over to the classroom for GHS staff and you go to the About tab, remember that on the About tab, there's a section there called Google PD Resources, and that's where I'm putting a document for each of our months. So if you ever need to go back and say, oh, he talked about something, where was that resource? All the links, everything is always going to be there. So for this month, you'll find November 2016 Google PD Resources there on the About page, and that will take you to this document, which is Google PD Resources November 2016. And once you get there and you start scrolling down, you'll get to the content that you guys had from this last month. Now you had units 7 and 12 that you've been currently working on. As a very quick reminder of what those covered, Unit 7 dealt mostly with basics of classroom. It was basically, how do you create a classroom? How do you enroll your students into your class? How do you create an assignment to push out to your students? How do you give feedback to your students on their assignments? So that was the gist of 7. It was mostly the basics of classroom and the basics of assignments. Then you guys also had Unit 12, and I know these are out of order, but it seemed like they were a little bit more basic stuff, so we wanted to kind of get them out of the way early and bring them to the front. So Unit 12 built on that. It did more with classroom, assigning, collecting assignments in classroom, having students share and collaborate and work together, using the commenting feature to leave feedback for kids, more feedback stuff, improving the writing and revising process using docs in classroom. So that was the gist of what got covered in these two sections. Now, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, but you guys aren't new to classroom. You've been using it. You've definitely seen it with what we've been doing here. And so I didn't want to go over stuff you already know. So as I looked down through here, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought, well, they probably know how to create a class and how to get kids in it and how to create an assignment. So what jumped out at me was Unit 7, Lesson 4. Giving and receiving feedback, because there are some really nifty ways that you guys can give feedback to students. Now I know you guys are math teachers, so some of these can really apply very well in a math setting. There are 4 that I pulled out. Now I'm sure there's more than 4 ways to give feedback, but these are 4 that I pulled out. There's no way we can get through all 4 of them, but we could definitely look at 1 or 2 of them during the time that we have here together today. So, and I do have I did a training webinar on these, which is linked here if you need to see the others that we don't cover. They are covered in the training webinar up there. So here's the 4 that I thought were beneficial. First of all, you've got just normal old text feedback, where basically you use the commenting tool to highlight some text, and then you click on the little comment button that pops up and you leave a comment over on the side. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. The second option, instead of text feedback, would be voice feedback. And basically the idea behind this is, instead of just giving kids text, you can record your voice. You can actually talk to them and record your voice and attach your voice as a comment. So they could click on the comment and it would play back you talking to them. There's a lot of ways to do that, but I think the Chrome extension Read and Write for Google is the easiest way to do that. Then the third option, to go a step further, is video feedback. So instead of just recording your voice, you can actually record the entire screen. So you could pull up your student's work and you could record their screen, your webcam, your voice, as you scroll down through their document, click on things and say, well, here's where you made a mistake. Oh, hey, take a look at this. This should have been a plus instead of a minus. And you can actually record the screen while you're going through giving them feedback. Now, keep in mind, everything I'm showing you the kids can do too. So this is also a great option. And by the way, the tool that I recommend for this is called Screencastify. Now, there's more than one way to do this, but I think this is the simplest, easiest way to do it. This can be something your kids can do as well. So like for math, if you wanted your students to explain how they solved a problem, they could have, for one of their problems, they could fire up Screencastify and basically talk through, and here's my thinking, here's how I set it up, this is why I chose to do it this way. And they could submit that as part of their assignment. So if you want a more authentic, deeper explanation of something, Screencastify doesn't have to be just for you, it can be for your kids as well. And then the last option might really fit well with math, and that's called handwritten feedback. And this is something that's kind of new. Late this summer, Google released an update to the Google Classroom mobile app. So if you've got an iPhone or an Android phone, an iPad or an Android tablet, or your kids, if they have these devices as well, you can use the Google Classroom mobile app on them, and it has a new feature that actually lets you handwrite on top of documents just with your finger. So you could pull up a document, and instead of typing comments or recording your voice or recording video, you could actually choose a color and you could circle things and X things out, and you could solve equations, and your kids could do the same. They could open up the worksheet you sent out to them, and they could write right on top of it inside of the mobile app. Okay? So those are just 4 possibilities. I would be happy to go through any of those with you guys. Or option B, if you've got questions that are completely separate from this, I'm happy to answer those. So what do you guys think? What would you like to take a look at here this morning?
He uses it more than I do, so you might have some specific questions that you. Yeah.
And again, if you don't, I mean, I'll just start going through some of these. If you don't have a preference, that's perfectly fine as well. But what I'd like us to do is actually try some of these out. So if we do Screencastify, I'll show you how to install it. We'll do a quick demo and have you record your screen. If you want to do the handwritten one in Classroom, we can fire up the mobile app and go through that. Any of these. What are your thoughts?
I'm interested in the handwritten feedback one.
Okay. Let's take a look. Let's start with that. Let's begin there, and we'll take it from there as we go. So here's the deal. With the handwritten one, you would need to have, like I said, an Android device or an iOS device. Same thing for your kids. And if you have an Android device, here's the link to the Google Play Store with the Google Classroom mobile app. You would need to install that mobile app on your phone or tablet. Same thing for iOS. Here's the iTunes Store, the iTunes App Store, and there's the Google Classroom mobile app. Now, I've already got that installed on my phone here, and I'm going to try my best. I was having a little connectivity issues this morning, but hopefully it'll work well now. I'm going to try to pull up Classroom on there and demonstrate this for you. What I did was I pushed out an assignment to you guys, which you do not actually have to do, but if you were looking for a document to demonstrate, to test on, that's the idea. So there's a sample George Washington report that I pushed out to you guys. If you want to play around with that, you can use that for the demo here today. So let's see if I can pull this up. All right, so far so good. There we go. Okay, so there's my phone. Now, I'm using an app called Visor that lets me put my phone on my Chromebook or laptop. It is the free version, so every now and then ads pop up. Fair warning, I don't know what they are before they pop up, so I should probably pay for the full version one of these days. But if something pops up on here, it's just an ad. So oh, there it goes. See, it's coming up. Is it up there yet? It's up on mine. It may take a moment to get up on that one, but I just got an ad that popped up on mine. Oh, okay, it didn't show up there. All right, so I'm going to go to my Classroom app. So there's Classroom on my device. Come on, refresh. I may have to refresh the screen here. Here it comes. All right, there we go. So here's my Classroom app. And inside a Classroom, I'm going to use this sample George Washington document as an example. And let me go ahead and open up the one person that got done. I think Brandy did this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Brandy's as an example. And when I go into it, you will see that here is her original Google Doc. Now earlier I did this, so that's why there's an example here, but I'll just do another one, that's fine. But this is her original Google Doc. So if I open up her original Google Doc, I can go in and I could zoom in and scroll around and take a look at her doc. All that's normal. But something that I can do different on the mobile is notice there's a little pencil icon right up here. That allows me to enter into editing mode. It says oh, I noticed you've already done this once before, so that's fine. We'll just create a new file. That's not a problem. And so now what it's done is it's bringing up her Google document, and I can still zoom in and out and move around, but it is now at the bottom given me annotation tools. There's a pen, there's a marker, and there's a highlighter down here. So if I go to my pen, I can choose a color and I can choose a thickness, and then I can come in and I can circle things, or I can underline things, or I could go to my highlighter and I could highlight things. If this was math, I could go to, let me find a blank page where I've got a little bit of room here. There we go. I could come here and I could, for example, solve a problem. This could be a worksheet that I have shared out with the students that has some equations to solve, and whether it's me as the teacher giving feedback, or the kids can do this too. Again, if they've got an Android or iOS device, from Classroom they could open up the assignment I pushed out, and then they could come right in here and they could solve their problem. So let's say I've got 2x plus 1 equals 7. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to subtract a 1 from both sides, poof, poof. And then I've got 2x equals 6. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 2, poof, poof. And x equals 3. And so right inside of my Google Doc, I'm now handwriting my annotations on there, whether it's me as a teacher going through, circling things and giving feedback, or if it's the student who's filling it out. When you're all done, there's a Save button here at the top. You click the little Save button, and what it does is it creates a PDF. That's why you saw that other PDF there earlier. It creates a PDF version of the original that has all of your annotations on top of it. So the original's still there. That document still is there, but now there's an additional PDF version of it. So again, if it's you giving feedback to the kids, that gets shared to them. When they open up Classroom, the PDF that you created, they can view. Same as if they're doing it. If they're creating the PDF, it gets turned into you when they turn in the assignment. It gets shared and turned in, and you have full access to it. So there it is. There's 2 of them there now. And if I go over to Google Classroom and I go over to Brandy's assignment, and I go ahead and open this up, there it is. It says there are 3 attachments. So now here's Brandy's original. Here's the one I did earlier today, and here's the attachment I just did right now. If I open that up, you will see there's my highlighting, and if I scroll down, there's my math problem all worked out on there. So that would be a way for you to leave feedback, but also a way for kids to do math that could stay digital. Okay, so that's an option for them. All right. Now, last session, the other question they had was, what if they just wanted to take a picture of their work? So like maybe they had done a math worksheet, and could they just take a picture as well? And the answer to that was absolutely yes, you can do that as well. So if I pull the phone back up here again, even though I'm not a student I can still show you the general idea. When you are using the Classroom mobile app, and whenever you go to add something, so if you're a student, you're going to turn in stuff, or I'm a teacher right now, so it's like I'm creating an assignment. I won't really create this, but if you are a student, you would see the same thing when you're turning in an assignment. There's a paperclip icon inside of the mobile app. Okay, it's a lot like the Classroom app, because the Classroom app does the same thing. If you're inside of Classroom normally, if I'm in Classroom normally and I go to the plus button and I go to create an assignment, there's a paperclip there as well. But on the desktop version, that paperclip means I want to upload something from my hard drive. Well, if you're on the mobile version and you hit the paperclip, what it does is it lets you pick things from your drive or a link or a file, or look at this, take a photo or record a video. So right from there, I could just take a picture, and basically it'll let me use my webcam, or my camera on my phone, and I could just go ahead and, if I had a document I've been working on, I could come in here, take a picture of it, and as simple as that, it has now taken that picture, and I would hit OK, and there we go. It's now going to attach that image to, in this case, the assignment I'm creating, but for the students, they could turn it in that way. So that would be another way if you wanted them. And you can do the same thing with a Chromebook. If they don't have a mobile device, your Chromebooks have the webcams built in, and they can use the exact same thing on a Chromebook, and your Chromebooks have the flippy cameras, right, where they flip over, which is nice, because then you can point it right at what you're looking at and use there's a, on the Chromebook, there is a camera app on the Chromebook that will let you take a picture right there with your Chromebook. And so they could do the same thing on the Chromebook and save that image to their drive and turn that in their classroom. So there.
She used that for a really clever assignment.
Oh, what'd you do?
I wanted to do a binder check, so I made a Google Slides thing, and each slide was a different thing that I expected them to have in their binder. So then they had to add the picture to each slide.
I love it.
I really liked it because I put the rubric on the bottom so that I could highlight what they got on each slide and leave comments about why they got the score they got.
Like find 5.1 homework, and then they have to show it. It was really huge. She did a really
I love it.
with that.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
The kids liked it too, don't you think?
They did like it, and there were like 5 kids the day after that. Were like, why did I get a 12? And I was like, oh, look at the thing, it says it. See that? I forget what it was.
Okay.
All right. Well, any other questions about the handwriting option with the mobile app?
So if I put a worksheet that I want them to do the handwriting from their phone,
Yes.
is it best to choose the option where each kid gets their own copy still?
Yep.
Because it's going to make the PDF copy.
No, they would still need to get their own copy. Yes, for them to be able to edit it, yes, you would want them to have their own copy, so each one gets their own, and yes, you are right. It is going to make a PDF copy of it, but yes, I would push it out to each student. And now it can be a Google Doc, but it doesn't have to be. You can actually have a PDF be the original thing you push out to them.
I can just write on the
Yep,
PDF.
and it'll annotate the PDF. So you can have a PDF worksheet that you push out to them. But yes, make a copy for each kid.
Are they thinking about adding that to the regular version of Classroom? That would be useful in that.
I agree. I can only imagine that would be added. The thing that probably would make it more valuable is as more devices have a touch screen, because it's a little bit more natural to use your finger than a mouse. You can use your mouse, but it's a little easier. So I figured they probably just went with the low-hanging fruit and said mobile is ready to go right away, and they're probably working up to having it. Now keep in mind though, with Chromebooks, as a in-between solution, Chromebooks are now getting the ability to run Android apps. Now not every Chromebook yet, there's like probably 7 or 8 that can at the moment, but they're working on getting it rolled out to any relatively modern Chromebook. So like these will get the Android App Store. So what you can do is you can actually run the Android version of Classroom on your Chromebook, and you can do it right now. I have used a Chromebook and done the handwriting by using the Android app on the Chromebook. Now, I agree it should get added just by default to Classroom in general. Hopefully that will happen sooner than later. But the way around it right now is just to run the Android version on your Chromebook for those that are able to. And again, over the next few months, every Chromebook will get that ability. Every relatively modern Chromebook will get that ability. Well, now, unless you guys have a different question, I would suggest we take a look at Screencastify, because I think for math, this again makes a lot of sense for you guys. It can be used in a number of ways. So basically it lets you record your screen. So I could use this if I wanted to, again, give feedback to a student on their work. But I could also use this if I wanted to do a quick instructional video for the kids. Maybe they took a test, and these are the 3 most common missed problems. Everybody seemed to miss these. Well, I could fire up Screencastify, and I could solve those problems and send the video link out to the kids and say, here's how these were supposed to be solved. Okay? Other way, the kid could do the same thing. You could say, okay, I want you to solve these math problems, and then for number 20 here, it's a more sophisticated problem, I want you to use Screencastify to explain to me how you solved it. So don't just show me the answer, talk me through and say, well, here's how I figured out, I read this and that, so I set up the problem like this, and here's how I solved it. What a great way for them to be able to show authentic learning there by recording themselves. So, do you guys have any other questions? If not, I'll do Screencastify as an example. Is that okay? All right. So here's what we're going to do. Have you guys used it before? No? Okay. So if you've never used Screencastify, what we want to do first is we do need to install it. So from the handout for today, if you go down to option 3, video feedback, where it says Screencastify web extension, there's a link there that says Chrome Web Store link. You'll need to follow that link to be able to get to the Chrome Web Store to install it. Now, I've already got it installed on this account. If you go up here, you can see I've got this little Screencastify icon in my top corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily plug this laptop in, this Chromebook, where I don't have it installed. This is a demo account over here. So on this one, I'm going to go to the web store, and I will get Screencastify and pull it up. Okay, so all you guys have to do is click the link right in the handout. Boom, it'll take you straight here. So first thing first, we do need to install it. So from the Chrome Web Store, in the top right-hand corner of the Screencastify pop-up is a button that says Add to Chrome. That's where we're going to click to install this extension. So we give a click on Add to Chrome. It asks for permission. Is it allowed to install it? We say yes, please add the extension. It's now going to download it, and once it's done, in the top right-hand corner, I'm going to get a little pop-up. There it is. There's the Screencastify extension, and this little film strip icon is there now. So anytime in the future that I need to use this program, it's going to be there, because Chrome web extensions don't install to your computer, they install to your account. So everywhere you go, they follow you around as you log in, okay? So that's step 1, get it installed. Step 2, the second thing is you need to, before you can use it, you need to give it 3 permissions. And so basically what you're going to do is you're going to come up here and you're going to click on the Screencastify extension one time, and the very first time you click on it, it's going to say, hold on, before I can use this, I need a couple permissions. Actually 3 permissions, okay? The first thing it's going to ask for is permission to record your camera and your microphone. And so you come down here and you click Set Up Camera Access, and it will pop up and say, do I have permission to use your camera and your mic? You click Allow, and there you go. Perfect. That's step 1 of 3. The second permission it's going to need is the ability to the ability to save to your Google Drive. So for that permission, you come down and click Next. And it says, okay, to do this, I need you to sign into your Google account. So you click Sign In. And it says, is this you? In this case, this is my demo account, my John Smith account. You click on your account and say, yep, that's me. It says, okay then, do I have permission to save to the Google Drive for that account? And so down at the bottom of there, you have to click the Allow button to let it save to your Google Drive. And the third and final permission that it needs is the ability to record your screen. So this is called tab recording. So you go ahead and click Set up tab recording. And it basically says, does Screencastify have permission to record your screen? And you say, yes, I'm going to allow that. And that's it. Now there's a little demographic thing it asks, are you a teacher or a student? So you can just say, I'm an educator and I teach, well, grade school, they consider K through 12. And that's it. And that's all. When you get done with all of that, basically it plays a little thing. And that way you know you're done. So you do have to do that one time and never again. Just have to do it once, never have to do it again after that. Okay, so now that you've got Screencastify installed, let's talk about using it. So let me pop back over to my other account here now. Okay, so how do we actually use Screencastify? Well, basically what's going to happen is you want to bring up on the screen the thing you want to record. So it could be your student's work. So maybe I go to Google Classroom and I go to the George Washington report, which again, if you guys want, please feel free to use that as an example. Again, you don't have to, but if you want to go, I pushed out an assignment earlier today, and if you want to open up that and record off of that, that's fine. Totally up to you. If you don't want to, you can just record anything. But I could come in here and find my student's assignment, click on Brandy's assignment here, open up her original document, and I could, once it opens, once that opens up, I can click on the Screencastify or extension up here, and I can basically record everything on the screen, as well as my voice, as well as the webcam, and give feedback to the student. So basically what I would do is I would come up here, click on the Screencastify extension, it'll open up, and this time I'm going to get 3 options for how I want to record. I can either record just the tab, meaning I just want to record this one page, or I can record my entire desktop. If I choose that, anything I put on the screen, it'll record. You know, if I bring up different web pages or programs or anything, if it's on the screen, it's getting recorded. Or I can just record my camera if I just want my webcam. Now, I've done that with students when they needed to practice speeches. We had some students in a College Credit Plus course that needed to, for effective speaking, they had to record themselves giving a speech. And so we just used the webcam. They recorded themselves giving their speech. Screencastify saves it automatically to your drive, and then they just shared that right out to the teacher, and boom, they had the video. Simple as that. So it was a really nice way for them to do their speech. It's also a good way for kids to practice their speeches. It's also a great way for kids to narrate slideshows. If you've ever looked for a way for them to add their voice to a slideshow, they can run the Google slideshow while using Screencastify, and they can narrate it as it goes through, and it's all done. They have a video of their slideshow with their presentation, with their narration going along with it. So that can be nice. Okay? Another option, instead of doing this for feedback to the student, is like we said for math, I could also do this if I just wanted to explain how to solve a problem, and I just wanted to do a quick, couple-minute video saying this was a commonly missed problem on the homework or the test. Here's how it should have been solved. Now, if that's the plan, then you'd need to pull up something else on the screen that you could actually write on to record. And there's lots of options for that. I threw in as an example, somebody had asked about this last session, so I added this in. This is a very, very, very simple one, but this one's called a Web Whiteboard. That's the name of the app. There's a bunch of these out there. There's tons of these examples, but this is just one of them. And this is basically just a very simple drawing app. You can pick your color, the thickness, and your tool, and basically you can just write on the screen there. So if I wanted to, I could pull that up and I could click Screencastify and I could record myself explaining how to do a problem. Or the kids could do this again if they're explaining how they solved a problem. So I'll use this for my example, but either way is fine, whether you're leaving feedback for a student or you're making a little instructional video. But I'll go ahead and do it here real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Screencastify, and I'm going to tell it to record just the tab. I'm just going to record this tab that I'm on. Notice it picks up my microphone automatically, but if it didn't, you could select your microphone. And then your webcam, if you don't have to have it in there, but if you want, if you select your webcam, you can choose which corner you want your picture to be in. And again, that's optional if you don't want your face in the video as well, but you can put it there if you want. And at that point, all I have to do is click Record tab, and it will start recording. Now, Screencastify will record up to 10 minutes, and then it'll stop. That's the free version. So you could do a bunch of recordings. Whoops. You could record, multiple times if you needed more than 10 minutes, but typically, 10 minutes is a good amount of time to do a recording. So let's try this out and just see how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and click Record tab. It's going to count down, 3, 2, 1. There I am in the top corner, and there it goes. It's now recording my screen, and it's recording me, and it's recording my voice. So I could do this, I'll just do the same problem we just did. So I'll come up here and say, 2x plus 1. See how good I am with a mouse versus my finger, equals 7. And I can say, okay guys, so this was a problem you had a lot of trouble with. Notice what we should have done is we should have started in here by subtracting the 1 first. And when you do that, it cancels out, leaving only the 2x on this side now. And on the other side, I'm going to have 6. And at this point now, we need to get rid of the 2. The 2 is connected to the x by multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division. So division will undo the multiplication. So those will cancel. Yeah, I did. Those will cancel.
He's using all the problems.
Those will cancel out. Well, actually, the way I honestly did it was a little bit sillier than that. And actually, I'll pause this now. And so once you're all done, then you come back up to Screencastify, give it a click. And you can either pause it or you can just hit end recording when you're done. I'll just pause it for a moment. When I did it, I taught it equations. Well, we taught it a bunch of ways, but it was unwrapping presents. And so what we talked about was the toy was the variable, the thing you were trying to get to. And then we talked about putting it into a present and using order of operations to wrap it up. And so it goes in the box, that's 2 times the x. Then it gets paper put on it, that's the plus 1. Then it gets a bow on top, that's the divided by 3 or something. And then we said to unwrap it, now we have to go reverse order of operations, and we do the inverses to unwrap the present, and take it apart. And that's usually how I read them the star-bellied sneetches about inverses, and then we did it was so that's how. But I had middle school kids, and they thought that was cute. So that's how we did multi-step equations, was presents. We actually brought in physical presents and we unwrapped them to learn it. Then we transitioned it over to the mathematics after that. So, So once you're all done recording the video, you just hit end recording. And what it does now is it will pop you over to a screen where it will play that back. I've got my volume off at the moment, but normally the volume would be playing there. And so now it's going to go ahead and play through that video. I need to unplug my phone. It keeps popping up on the screen there. Stop. There we go. And so now it would play that back, and again, if I had my volume up, you'd hear me talking there, explaining all of that. And what happens is this video now gets saved automatically to your drive. You don't have to do anything special at all. It just automatically saves to your drive. If you want to give it a name, you can come up here, call it something. We'll just call this session 3. And now that this is done, if I want to, I can just come right up here and click the little link button, and that will copy the link for me. And I could now take that copied link and I could give that to the students. I could email it to them. I could put it in Classroom. Or if I was specifically working with a student, I could come in and I could highlight. This is what I did earlier. I'll just redo it up here. I could come in and I could highlight something in their document. I could hit the little comment button and I could say, here is my video feedback for you. And I could just paste that link right in, and boom, now when the student opens up their document, they could click that and it'll play the video for them right away. Or again, I could put that link in Classroom, I could put it anywhere that I want to. It's just a video link. It's also in your drive, so if you end up closing out of this and you go, oh shoot, I closed out, where did it go? If you just go to your drive, Screencastify creates its own folder in your drive called Screencastify, and your videos are just sitting right there. And so you can just go in and get the video right from Drive. So from Classroom, you could hit the Drive icon and just throw it in. Same for the kids. Kids can do this, and they can turn things into you through Classroom by going to their Drive, grabbing the Screencastify video, and submitting it when they turn stuff into you as well. All right.
Thank you. Do iPads have microphones? iPads.
iPads have mics? Yep.
Okay, so if I do something like this on my iPad, like let's say I open a worksheet on my iPad, and I want to go over certain problems, can I scroll still, or is it just going to have a section that's zoomed in on?
So if you are on an iPad, some of these things I'm showing will work and some won't. So for example, the handwritten feedback, that's a mobile thing. Yeah. That's going to work on your iOS device. Yeah. Screencastify is not a mobile thing. Now there may be, but I'm sure there's mobile versions of stuff like that. I'm sure there is. I don't know off the top of my head what to recommend right offhand for that. But Screencastify is it's going to run on a Mac, a PC, or a Chromebook. Whereas the handwritten feedback for Classroom, that's going to be Android and iOS. So that's mobile. This is not mobile up here. Yeah. All right. We have just a couple minutes. Anything else you guys have a question on, either from the feedback here, voice feedback, text feedback, something else with feedback, or just a general question that's been haunting your mind this last month in Google Apps? Doesn't have to do anything with any of this.
If you were teaching math today,
Yeah.
how would you use any of it? I mean, what would you use?
Well, it's a number of things. So one of the things I think is really important with math is not telling students the rules, not telling them the properties, not telling them things. Because math is patterns. It's letting them discover the rules. So for example, when I would teach pi, yeah, you can say, pi is the ratio, the circumference to the diameter, it's about 3.14962, whatever. Take these notes down and let's use them. Or you could use something like Google Sheets and Google Forms to collect information and have the kids discover pi. Here's what I mean by that. So what I've done this activity with folks before as an example to show them. You bring in a bunch of circular objects, frisbees and lids and all kinds of stuff, and tape measures. And you have the kids literally measure the distance around and the distance across, and then they go to a Google Sheet that you've shared, and they fill in distance around, distance across, or they use Google Forms to submit it, doesn't matter. But you get it into a Google Sheet. Now once you've done that, once you have 25, 27, 28 kids' data in this Google Sheet, now you go, so do you guys notice any patterns? Did anybody see anything here? Does it seem like the distance around compared to the distance across, is it, a certain, so many times more or less, what's it look like? And then it's not going to be perfect. They're going to make mistakes, but in general, with all these different size circles, they should start to say, it's about 3 times bigger. It kind of looks like that. And you can say, well, then what could we do to figure out for sure? They said, well, we could divide. So beautiful. It's a spreadsheet. Divide this column by that column, and now it all divides out. And yeah, they're all hovering around 3-ish. So you say, hey guys, we've probably made some mistakes. Could we make this any better? What could we do? Hopefully somebody will say, let's average them. So you average them all up, and you would be surprised how close you get to 3.14, blah, blah, blah. And what the point is, students can use technology to collect data, to analyze it, to look for patterns and make predictions, and then they discover pi rather than you teaching it. So that would be one thing I would think of right away, is use spreadsheets, use data analysis, let them look for patterns and let them draw conclusions. But that's just one idea. Yeah. All right, thanks guys. See you in a few weeks.